welcome to Food Fridays. My name is Caitlin and I work at EVPL 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐬. Today I'm going to show you how to make breaded tomatoes. So these are kind of a cross between like an eggplant parmesan and a fried green tomato. And they're an excellent way to use local produce that's in season right now. So we've got some tomatoes here. And if you're interested in getting local produce from farmers here in the area, do check out Market on Main. It runs Wednesdays from June 2nd to September 15th. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So before we start, we're going to go ahead and wash our hands. It's always very important to do. I'm going to get some water on there and some soap. You're going to rub vigorously for 20 seconds. So it's going to take quite a while to make sure that your hands are nice and clean. So make sure you get the backs and under the nails too if you have longer nails. Make sure you scrub the knuckles as well. And even down onto the wrists. We want to make sure that we are ready to cook and germ-free. So once we've got our hands all nice and clean, we'll go ahead and give them a good rinse. And dry them off. And you may notice today I am using the Charlie cart. So this is a mobile kitchen that the library purchased for programming and for virtual programs. And it's just a great resource to help kids learn to cook and adults as well. All right, so today we're going to work on a couple of different cooking skills. So we're going to work on our knife skills because we'll have to slice the tomatoes, right? And we're also going to do some dredging. So dredging is just a fancy word for coating something in flour and or breadcrumbs and then cooking it. So we're going to coat our tomatoes in flour. The flour is going to stick to the tomato. We're going to do an egg wash. Egg wash is going to stick to the flour, and then we're going to do breadcrumbs and spices, and those are going to stick to the egg wash. And all of that's going to combine to create a really nice, crunchy tomato. We're also going to, at the end, bake the tomatoes for just a few minutes in the oven at 350, and we're going to put some melted cheese on top. So that's kind of where the eggplant parmesan part comes in. So these would be great with spaghetti or on a ciabatta with some marinara. Anything like that would just be excellent. So let's go ahead and get started. So before we even begin to cook, I always say in my kids cooking class that we want to make sure we read through our recipe and we have everything that we need. So we need 3 large ripe tomatoes. We need 3/4 cup breadcrumbs, which I've got right here. We need garlic salt, black pepper, basil, and oregano, a 1/2 teaspoon each. So I've got some in here. We need 2 beaten eggs, which I've got in this bowl. We need flour, got over here. We need canola oil for frying, got that here, and in my skillet already preheating. And we need mozzarella cheese for topping, which I've got over here. So now we are ready to begin. So first things first, we're going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees, which I've already done. And next, we want to make sure that we wash our tomatoes. You always want to wash your produce whenever you bring it home from the farmer's market or the store. All right, so now I've got my tomatoes all nice and washed. So we want to go ahead and get prepared. So I've got a tray here to place the tomatoes on for baking, and then I've got a tray here that I'm going to place them on after I've fried them so we can drain the oil off. So I'll get my tray over here, put my tomatoes on that. All right, so I've got everything ready. According to the directions, I'm going to add my spices to the breadcrumbs. We're going to give that a good stir. And now we're ready to start dredging our tomatoes. So when you're using a knife, you want to make sure that you hold it steady in your hand if you're right-handed. And with your other hand, you're going to make like a little bear claw like this. And what's that going to do is it's going to protect your fingers from the slicing of the knife. You want to make sure the tomato is steady and not rolling around on the cutting board. And we're going to do about a 1/2 inch thick slices. So you want them to be fairly thick. So about like that, fairly thick tomato. And from the 3 tomatoes, you should get anywhere from 15 to 20 slices. It just depends on how thick your tomato is. So I made that one a little bit thin, so I probably won't use that one. It may overcook. So make sure your fingers are clawed. Keep them away from the blade. Put all your tomatoes aside. And since tomatoes are fairly wet, the flour is going to stick to them really nicely. All right, and now we're ready to get started. So when you're dredging, you want to keep one hand just for the flour, and the other hand's going to do the egg wash and the breadcrumbs. And that just helps you from ending up with a huge sticky mess of gloopiness on your hands. You're still going to get a little messy though, trust me. So we're going to take our tomato, we're going to put it all in the flour like this, shake off the excess, get it nice and coated, and drop it in the egg wash. Don't get any egg wash on this hand. We're going to take our other hand, flip it around, shake off the excess, put it in our breadcrumbs, and just toss and coat it. And you might not get it completely covered, and that's okay. You should have a pretty decent coating on there like that. We'll just set it aside whenever we're ready. So we're going to do all of our tomatoes this way. And I'll just do just a quick batch here to show you. So get it in the egg. Toss in your breadcrumbs. And yeah, you're going to make a mess, so don't worry about that. Cleanup will be at the end, right? And this is a technique you can do with lots of other foods as well. So if you wanted to make homemade chicken strips, you could do that as well. You can do like panko, which is a Japanese breadcrumb instead of just plain regular breadcrumbs. You can do zucchini this way, another vegetable that's in season right now. So there's lots of things that you can do. With the dredging technique. And it's just going to make everything very nice and crispy. So I'll do one more and then we'll go ahead and get to frying. All right. Now I got to rinse my hands. As you can see, you're still going to get a little bit messy, and that's okay. Don't want to get water on the tomatoes. That would be bad. Just rinse them off a little bit. So when you're ready to fry, you're going to take a heavy bottom skillet. So I've got a cast iron here, just because it works well with this induction cooktop. And it's got a very heavy bottom, makes it a really great thing for frying. And you're going to put a little bit of either canola oil, or if you have frying olive oil, not extra virgin, but just the regular olive oil, you can do that too. You're going to put maybe, a ½ inch of oil in there just to coat the bottom, and you're going to get it nice and hot and warmed up. Now, if you have an instant read thermometer, you can just point it at the oil and see if it's hot enough. You're aiming for 350 to 375 degrees. I don't have one, so I'm just going to throw a little bit of breadcrumbs in there. And they're starting to sizzle. And our oil feels a little warm, so I think we're probably ready. So we're going to put these in there for about 1.5 to 2 minutes per side. You want to have them over medium-high heat. And we're going to wait for them to get nice and golden brown. All right, so they are getting nice and golden brown. Going to give them 30 more seconds on this side. And then when they're done frying, we're going to put them on our paper towel, and that's just going to drain off the excess oil from them. All right. As you can see, nice and golden brown, maybe a little dark. That's okay. I want be nice and crispy when I put the cheese on top. You want to make sure that you use tongs, maybe one's a little bit longer than this, and be very, very careful whenever you're using anything with hot oil. Make sure you don't touch it. If you have a splatter guard at home or a lid, that could also help keep you safe from the splattering oil as well. You always want to make sure that you do any slicing or any of this cooking process with an adult at home. Lost a little bit of my bread in there. So now that they're cooling over here and draining, I'm going to get some mozzarella cheese, and you can use any kind of cheese. You can use Parmesan if you prefer that, an Italian blend, or if you're ready to eat them, they're perfectly fine right now as well. This step is basically just to get some cheese on there and get it all nice and melty. So I'm just going to take maybe a tablespoon and put it on top of each one. And I've got a foil-lined tray here just to help keep this a little less messy whenever I put it in the oven. And that's what they look like before they go in. So I'll be right back. My oven is off camera over here. All right, so you're gonna put those in for 5 to 8 minutes, depending on how thick your tomato slices are or how powerful your oven is. Remember, it's on 350 in my little toaster oven over there. And when they're done, they're gonna look like this. All right, now I gotta try a little piece. And this is just a great way to use up some fresh tomatoes. Tomatoes are going to be everywhere at the farmer's market, in the store, and it's just a different way of doing it rather than just in a salad or something like that. Very good. Definitely reminds me of eggplant parmesan. So if you're not a fan of eggplant, definitely try it with a tomato instead. Well, thank you so much for joining me today for Food Fridays. Again, my name is Caitlin. And you can check out all of our other programs and story times online at our Facebook page and on YouTube at EVP Library. Thanks and have a great day.